What's up, everybody? It has been a minute. Been trying to make some content. We were racing the Spec 30 this weekend, Sebring, home track, about 80 miles from where I'm currently sat, which is Fans Performance. So I've been wanting to do a video like this about kind of the economics of racing. You know, I recently had a conversation with a customer who's a little higher up in the food chain, can race more expensive stuff, and we were kind of talking about cost, right? So I want to kind of break it down to like how much this particular weekend, racing a race car that I already have built, already put all the money in and don't have to do anything to. So first things first is you got to have food for the weekend, right? Waters, snacks, all that kind of stuff, right? I usually get enough for me. My brother usually comes with me, my buddy Pete, a couple other people. Maybe let's say 3 guys come with you, right? You plus 2 other guys. We spend about 150 bucks. Okay, so we have $150. We'll just start adding them up in a column over here on the right. Second thing is where you're staying. We stay at the hotel right on the racetrack. It's called the 7. Don't get me wrong, this is not a nice hotel. It got ruined by Irma a couple years ago, and they kind of did a very half-hearted refresh of it, and it's not super nice. Smells kind of funny, but it's right on the property, so it makes life real convenient. So 1 room, 2 beds, you know, and a sleeper couch that sleeps 3 guys. We could probably bring an air match and sleep a 4th. With the NASA rate, I want to say we spent, I'm going to pause the video. All right, I'm back. So the hotel, $165 a night, 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because we got there for the test day on Friday, Thursday night. So with all the fees and everything, that ends up being about $500. So now we've got $150 for the food, drinks, snacks, $450 for the hotel. Next, fuel for the truck. Another, I think it takes 120 bucks to get there and back, about 12 miles to the gallon with a diesel. We brought 110 bucks in fuel for the race car. So there's our fuel cost, right? 1 brand new set of Maxxis stickers. This is when you can kind of, if you're reasonable, you can race at the front, win some races, come in the top 3, you get some free tires. I got a couple free tires. Still, let's call that 700 bucks for a set. Not something you necessarily have to do every weekend, but as you get more competitive, the more competitive people bring more tires. Car prep. I do all my own work, right? I do my own alignment, I do my own scale work, I do my own fluids, I do my own everything, right? I pay somebody to clean the car, that's 80 bucks. But that work would all cost, like a customer, that's several hundred thousands of dollars, right? To get the car prepped. And you can never prep a car enough. It can always be better. It can always go on the scales. There's always something you can do to make the car better. And even like, you know, Gridlife is crazy because you can literally just throw money at the car. More stuff, more parts, more stuff, make it faster, do stuff better. It's a checkbook race league, right? The more money you spend, the faster you go. Spec racing is not that, but it can get very granular, right? Like, are you building your bearings with the right kind of grease? Are you using the right fluid in the transmission? Are you doing all the little secret tricks and you know, all the stuff we learned from years of racing them that you have to do every event to make them, you know, as good as they can be for the event. That all adds up, right? So let's call it my car prep cost with no labor. Let's call that 500 bucks by the time I go through, and maybe 500 bucks is too high. Let's call my car prep for the weekend. Let's call that, well, it's not true actually, right? Because I like to come on new brakes, pads and rotors, right? All the way around, because I don't want to change them at the racetrack. And if you drive it super hard for a test day, a Saturday, a Sunday, by the end of Sunday, you might be getting at the end of the pads and a little bit longer brake pedal, and I don't want to do that. So, you know, let's call it, in a Spec 30 brake package is pretty cheap. You're 400 bucks an axle, pads, rotors. So there's 800 bucks, a couple hundred bucks in fluid. So we got 1,000 bucks in parts, getting the car ready, no labor. Okay. Now you're taking Friday off of work. You're gone Saturday, you're gone Sunday, you usually come home late Sunday night. Between all this, you know, you got buddies at the racetrack, and you know you're not cooking every meal, so you got to go get breakfast, you got to go get dinner, you got to do that. Lunch at like the snack shack or one of the food trucks, which were awesome by the way this weekend. But you put your other food category about $200 for the day, for the weekend, right? And that's kind of conservative. That's if you don't bring your wife or you're not paying for your guys that come with you. So this is the economics here of racing a car that I've already built, that I know every in and out of, and I know how to make super fast. At a racetrack 2 hours from my house. So you can extrapolate my list here to, if you want to go race in a different region, now you got a bigger haul, you got more in fuel. If you bring more people. Now there's ways, listen, there's 100% ways to make this cheaper. We have the dream one day of building my big trailer out so we can sleep inside of that. It's got a generator on it already, insulate it, put a floor in it, get some blow up mattresses and an AC unit on it and sleep in the trailer. I have no problem doing that, right? But there's costs. You gotta get the trailer ready. There's guys that bring motorhomes and RVs, stay at the racetrack. It's less money, yeah, but you gotta own the motorhome. You gotta maintain that. It's one more thing you gotta do before race weekend. And you can go and buy a bunch. We usually bring the smoker and we make our own breakfast. We make our own lunch. We make our own dinner most times, right? But then, you got somebody cooking the whole time, working the whole time. You gotta buy all the food. I think it ends up being a wash, honestly, if you're feeding more than just yourself. But I wanted to kind of do a video because I love spec race. I love racing, right? And, it's not the cheapest hobby, but you think about all the other stuff you do. If you get really into it, everything becomes expensive. Fishing, shooting, cycling. I mean, you name it. You see it all the time on the internet. People will find a way to spend lots of money doing something they like, right? But from the economic standpoint, or from like the standpoint of, hey, I want to get into racing, this is a pretty general list of what it costs, right? And that's if you own the car already. If you wanted to build a car, right? You could build a spec 90 doing all the work yourself in the garage for 20 grand. Now, is that going to be a competitive car? Who knows? It's a spec series, right? Will it get you on the racetrack? Most definitely. Will you be racing people? Most definitely. A couple years from now, will you be happy where you're racing? When guys are bringing better prep cars that cost twice as much? Probably not. But then again, that's the economics of racing, right? I guess the long and short of this video really is that, like all hobbies, they all cost money. Would you do something different with your money? Probably not. I love racing. I love building cars. I really love the tinkering, right? That's what I do for a living. I love working on stuff, making it better. That being said, we're looking at Gridlife next year as this list times 30, 40, 50, right? Because you're maybe not that much, but you're staying farther away from home. You're taking way more days off work because it takes you 20 hours to get to the racetrack. You never show up, at least that's my rules. You never go racing in a car without a test day, because you want to have all your problems when they don't matter or they don't cost you any track time or worse positions, right? So Gridlife is worse because you're traveling further, at least for us guys from down here in the south. The closest one we're probably going to do, like CMP, that's 10 hours from here. Probably if they come back to Red Atlanta, we'll do that. That's 10 hours from here. But all your costs grow, right? Like as you get further from your house and further from your home base, everything grows exponentially. If your fuel cost doubles on the truck, I guess a probably safe bet would just say all of this doubles. But anyways, it's super fun. If I was, down here in the Florida region, Spec 30's kind of died out. Partially my fault, partially, kind of Carlos from Condor Speed Shop starting a new series, Spec 90. But that series seems to be growing. The cars seem to be reliable enough, right? They're N52s, which was the last best BMW engine ever built. And they got 10 of them, right? Which is a good field for a Florida field. We used to have 12, 15 E30s and life was great. And then that slowly dwindled until we were down to like 5, right? We had 5 this weekend, and 4 of the guys were from the Southeast. But if I drive 10 hours to the Southeast, I can get 30 car, 25 car fields of Spec E30 still, right? And no Spec E90s. Just kind of how the region grows. So, you know, if you're getting into it, this is the other thing, right? I'm going to rearrange this video a bunch. I'm going to cut it up. But you got to think about if you want to go racing, right? Like I want to get into racing. The number one thing you want to look at is car count. You don't want to build your car. You don't want to take your car and build it for a class that nobody races in. They'll give you a trophy. You can show up to NASA and race ST1 or ST2 or GTS, any of the classes, because we don't have any of those cars down here, and you will get a first place trophy every time. But you'll be the only car you're racing. There'll be other cars on the racetrack, but you'll be the only guy in your class. So you really want to look at like your regional series, like NASA, FARA is pretty big down here, or SCCA. You want to see, you know, who has the cars, right? And what do you want to race? Like I said, I got a lot of guys that have more money and they think racing an old BMW doesn't hold their image, right? Or what's the word I'm looking for? Not the status, right? It's a status symbol when you buy a race car. The problem is if you go buy a cup car, it's $1 million season. If you want to go run at the front, yeah, you can go do PCA, which is Porsche Club America Club Racing, but those guys are still spending $100,000 a year plus, right? To win a Porsche Club event or a BMW car club event, you know, like all those series. You know, it's all economics. It's all how much you can spend and want to spend and what you want to drive. I tell most people, the slower the car you start in, the better race car driver you are, and you can go get anything else. Now, this video has gone way off topic. We're going to end it here. I got some other cool content coming. We are finishing up some other projects at the shop. The drift car is coming out to get the last of its carbon fiber wide body before it goes to wrap. So I'll get a video on that thing for you. Otherwise, let me know if you guys have any questions, want to know anything else about racing the program. I can always answer those in a separate video.